Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunny and Phoenix podcast, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. Today, we are going to talk about some Suns pre-draft workouts. We've had two different sets of guys come in already this preseason here, so we'll talk about some guys that we like there, and then we'll talk about the rumors of the Suns being interested in Andre Iguodala. So, I'm Charlie Erling. I've got David McGraw and Mitch Crumpetich with me today. What's up, fellas?
Insert random clever comment about something here. That's all I got.
Wow.
Nailed it.
For the first time, like ever, I think we went in the correct order that we were introduced. So
No. Definitely.
I said you first, David.
yeah.
I know that, but like legit. I know for sure. I know for a fact that not last episode because it was just Mitch, but the episode before that, like we went in whatever order you said.
Oh, we really thought about it. Wow,
Yeah.
You're just trying to be argumentative in the first 2 minutes of the show.
I'm ready to argue already.
Okay.
I'm like a speech and debate kid in high school.
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm out. See ya.
All right, now that we have that settled, make sure to get a hold of us on social media. Our Twitter is @SunnyandPHXPod. Our email is sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. And check us out over at our new host, the Deepish Thoughts Podcast Network, over at deepishthoughts.com.
Thanks for listening to the Sunny and Phoenix podcast. If you'd like to further support the show, you can head over to tpublic.com/user/sunnyandphx. That's teepublic.com/user/sunnyandphx. We've got t-shirts, mugs, phone cases, all kinds of stuff. You can get our famous cheese is warming up design, or just one that says Sunny and PHX. Again, tpublic.com/user/Sunny and PHX. And go Suns.
All right, and before we get into the pre-draft workout stuff, we had a really great comment on our YouTube channel on our last episode here. And since Mitch was the man that brought this comment out, I think we just got to pass it over to him to talk about it.
So we love when people leave YouTube comments or comments anywhere, Twitter, but we've been getting a lot on YouTube lately. And we love when people put a lot of thought into these comments, like this one that we got from John last week on episode 71. I'll give a little context so that this makes more sense. I was just talking about how the 7-game playoff series makes things predictable in the NBA, and I'm a little bit tired of Cavs Warriors for the third time. But what John says in this comment is really interesting, so I'm going to read it really quick. The best and worst thing about 7-game playoffs in the NBA is that we do get the best teams in the end, barring injuries, but usually it is fairly predictable. Other major sports have inherent luck involved, hockey, baseball, or single elimination, football. I don't want to change the playoff format for basketball, but I would propose a mid-season single elimination tournament. Get rid of the crappy All-Star weekend and infuse excitement into the NBA fan base. The winner of the tournament could get an additional second rounder or specific upgrades to their arena. Everyone loves March Madness, so why not try a similar format for the NBA? So thanks, John, for that comment. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to analyze this a little bit more because why not? I think it's interesting, the idea of some sort of tournament, but getting any teams to agree to a tournament, and even just a few teams agreeing to a tournament, is just really unlikely. You barely have people that agree on how many games should be in a season or if preseason should be a thing. I mean, if you can't get people to agree on that and agree to playing those games competitively. If you can't get people to play preseason competitively or even the All-Star game competitively, how are you going to get literally every single team to agree to possibly having a risk of injury by playing a tournament and putting more like miles on your guys.
Right.
That makes me think of the Paul George Olympics injury. I know it's a bit of a different context, but while not in the regular season for the NBA, playing something that didn't have any real matter, it was practice for our Olympic team. Yeah, that's something, but I mean,
It was a scrimmage.
that hurt the Pacers. Yeah, it was a scrimmage, and the only people that really hurt were the Pacers. So that might be tough to do. But something I do kind of like the idea of from this comment is bringing in a small touch of March Madness, maybe. Try to get a bit of a play-in game towards the bottom of the bracket in the East and the West. I don't know necessarily how many teams, because, I mean, we're already taking a good chunk of each conference into the playoffs. And that, really that might lesser the competitiveness for the games. Say a team does, okay, what if the Suns somehow snuck a win by a higher seeded team and went into the playoffs as an 8 seed? That would have been hideous. So that'd be a little rough, but maybe a couple play-in games, I'd be interested in seeing something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like most regular seasons and stuff, you do have a couple of teams fighting for the 8th seed. You basically had a play-in at the bottom of the East this year, where Miami was able to get on a hot streak and was like half a game or a tiebreaker or whatever, basically away from being in the playoffs. And I mean, they didn't want to be there. You have those kind of playing games, and that's kind of the point of the regular season. I think that while it would have been like, oh, well, if they only picked like a team that was on a hot streak or whatever for the 8th seed, because making things more interesting, I mean, the kind of point of a regular season is to put the teams with the best records into the playoffs for a chance at a championship.
Yeah, and I'd have to say that 82 games is probably plenty to sort everything out there.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think you guys are right on. But another idea that a friend of mine had after I showed him that YouTube comment was doing some sort of tournament with all the teams who didn't make the playoffs. And now this is just an idea that, again, probably won't happen and isn't realistic. But I thought it was a pretty cool concept. And that is to take all of the teams that didn't make the playoffs and have them play a tournament at the end of the regular season. And whoever wins that gets the first pick in the draft. And that will just determine draft order. That would be a way to combat tanking a little bit. But again, not super realistic, but I just like the tournament idea.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that the rich get richer. Because if you're going to give the team that wins a loser tournament the first pick in the draft, that means a team like Miami or whatever that really kind of just had some bad luck at the beginning of the season and then were able to turn it around. I mean, giving them the number 1 pick when, I mean, the fact that the Celtics have the number 1 pick this year because Brooklyn screwed up so much and a couple years ago is not something a lot of people are really happy about. So the fact of being like, okay, well, this team just barely missed the playoffs, so we're going to give them the first pick because they're the better team and they're going to win this tournament, is not the most fair thing. The idea of the draft is getting young players to, or getting the teams with the worst records getting young players that have the potential to be superstars, so that those teams with the worst records can become teams with the better records.
Yeah, and that's true. I just think the whole thing would promote teams like the Suns, Lakers, Nets, all those teams who were intentionally losing games to kind of quit doing that. Because, like, think about if this were the case, we definitely wouldn't have sat Bledsoe or Chandler. We would have played a lot harder. We would have been trying to win rather than lobbying for draft position. So I think it would combat that a little bit, but still, I mean, if it doesn't matter if we were playing Bledsoe or not. If we had to take on a team like Miami, we would lose that game 9 times out of 10 in the tournament.
I'd have to agree with most of what you said, but you mentioned the Nets, and they knew they weren't getting their first rounder this year, and they couldn't even win more than 20 games. That's a disgrace.
I guess this year is not a good example to use the Nets, but previously.
Yeah,
I just like throwing a little shade at the Nets.
And I agree. There needs to be some sort of lottery reform, but there isn't that much. There isn't really much that we can do. I mean, the lottery system is supposed to discourage people from tanking, but tanking is almost at a point where it's just necessary to make sure you can have the best odds to get whatever. So would just throwing out the lottery and just going by, okay, you had the worst record, so you have the first pick. You had the second worst record, you have the second worst pick, or you have the second pick, and so on and so on.
Right.
Really, with the comment, I mean, when talking about luck in playoffs and stuff, the idea of being the champion and stuff is the best team. You're the best team in the league, and so you are the champion. And I really think the only two sports that don't have the best team win it each year just about are football and soccer. Or as I told you guys, I kind of mentioned this before we started recording, football and the one other thing that people call football. So
Foot soccer ball.
See, at least in my sense, then you could be like, oh, well, he's talking about hand egg or whatever, or he's talking about soccer or whatever, but regardless, I mean, I really feel like those are the only ones where a team can get on a hot streak and really kind of go nuts and actually make a run that is true underdogs. And I think that, in the NBA, you'll have, underdog stories and stuff, but really in, hockey and baseball as well, you're going to get the team that is the best is able to play the best. You're going to get them to win the championship.
All right. I have two responses. One, in soccer, at least in the Premier League, one of the biggest leagues, the way that they do the championship is whoever has the best record at the end wins. They don't have playoffs at all. So if the NBA did that last year, the Warriors would have won and we would have had no playoffs. And just okay, best record, they win. I think it's very, very, very disappointing because you can know this year we knew that Chelsea won the league in with 3 games or so to go in the season, which is really weird. And I like watching the Premier League, but I don't like the way that they do that with no playoffs. The other thing, go ahead.
No, just I was talking about World Cup.
World Cup. The
I don't care
once
about
every
any of the other
4
stuff.
years event.
That's the
I was
only.
gonna say-
I didn't even know there was another championship besides the World
There's
Cup.
all
or,
kinds
the
of different
qualifier
leagues.
cups.
There's so many leagues.
I was going to say, in any league where you get 1 point for tying a game, that's not a sport. Get that out of here. Just kidding. That's a little. That might be a little too much, and I assume we have some soccer fans in here. So I didn't mean it.
I mean, I used to call soccer a communist sport, so.
I like soccer, so
That's fair enough.
fun fact: the team I root for, Tottenham Hotspur, is also Steve Nash's favorite team. So, yeah,
Wait, it's not a Denver team that you root for?
they're all in England, so no.
We're
Isn't there
talking-
there's an American...
There's Major League Soccer. I'm talking
Soccer.
about.
MLS.
I'm talking about the British Premier League, or as they say it,
Oh, my
Premier.
bad.
Premier.
With their aluminium and...
Premier League is a lot better than MLS. There's other more international leagues that are better.
Anyways, stop talking about your soccer stuff. I made my
Yeah.
point that I was talking about the World Cup because that's all anyone ever actually cares
Okay,
about. So go to your
well-
second point.
I beg to differ, but
Second point?
second point, hockey is super unpredictable. The puck can take the weirdest bounce ever. The best teams don't always win. The Capitals have been the best team in the league for multiple years, and then they don't go to the Stanley Cup Finals even. Kind of like this year. And Nashville was not the best team, and they're in the they're the team representing the West in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. I had one other thing. Oh, and Chicago, the Blackhawks. They had a really good record, and they got swept in 4 games. It can be super unpredictable. And that can happen in basketball too, but I think that kind of thing just happens a lot more in hockey. I think it's more unpredictable, and there's more luck.
Retort. How is the puck gonna bounce in weird different ways 4 games in a row.
Pucks bounce in weird different ways like every second of a hockey game.
Okay, yeah, but like, is it gonna do it for enough games in a row to where like you just end up winning only by luck and not because you're good?
You're right there. There's a lot of skill involved, obviously. It's not just luck. But one weird bounce can change a lot.
I think, and this is gonna kind of hurt his Suns fans, but the best team isn't always the one with the best record.
That's true.
Like, you can have the best record in the league, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a better team than Team X.
A la the Celtics aren't better than the Cavaliers.
Yes, exactly. The Celtics had a better record. There were the couple of years with the 7 seconds to less Suns where we were a 1-2 seed, those kind of things, and you know, we were not able to get over the hurdle because we were a great regular season team, but you know, in the playoffs, defense is a big deal, and you know, maybe that defenses aren't as good as they used to be, but most of the time, if you have a lockdown defense and can play different tempos and control the tempo of a game, you're going to win. And I think that those kind of things really point out who is the better teams.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference I see. In hockey, a game can be tied 0-0 with 30 seconds left in the game. And a defenseman can take a slap shot from the point, and the puck can bounce off 2 guys and go in the net. And even the best goalie in the world can't stop a weird shot like that. And the game can end 1-0. In basketball, there's just so many more opportunities to score and go on scoring runs. And yeah, sometimes games do come down to last-second shots or blocks or whatever. But we don't see those kind of things quite as often as hockey. I think just because the amount of scoring is so much lower, that's why there's more luck involved.
Okay, Mitch. Is a defenseman going to do a slap shot across the ice and get a goal in the last 30 seconds, 4 games in a row, 8 games in a row, 12 games in a row? I mean, that's just not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen every time.
Or not even in a row, just 12 wins in general. I mean, like, that's just not going to happen.
Not every time, but
you're not. Come on, Mitch. Come on.
That happens. What I'm saying is that kind of thing happens a lot more in hockey, a lot more often, because games are determined by 1 point a lot more often in hockey than in basketball. And when things come down to that small of a margin, there's going to be more luck.
Mitch,
we can all agree on that a little bit, right? Just so we can move it on to the next segment. Perfect. All right. Suns pre-draft workout.
Does that mean I win?
We had 2.
You know you didn't win.
Neither of you win. Okay. So we've had 2 sets of guys come in for pre-draft workouts this summer so far. And we'll talk about day 1 first. And I apologize if I butcher some names. I'm known to do that. So we brought in Troy Copain, Josh Hart out of Villanova, Tijane Kita. He's only been playing ball for 3 years. We scoured the internet, did not have any luck finding how to pronounce his name, so that's what you get. Kyle Kuzma, Jonathan Motley, and Kobi Simmons. They were all in on the first day of pre-draft workouts. So the one guy that stands out to me from that list is probably Josh Hart. Right now, he is on Draft Express, ranked as the 50th best prospect coming into the draft. Senior out of Villanova, 6'6" shooting guard. Really an efficient scorer when he has the ball. And tough on defense as well. Kind of fits the mold he just fits that shooting guard mold, I'd say. The 6'6", 204 frame. Good with or without the ball. And the thing I like about him is his defense. He's quick on his feet, plays great defense out on the perimeter, and along with that 6'6" size, that's great. The 6'8" wingspan, nothing special, 8'5" standing reach. So I think he has the tools to be a shooting guard in this league. He's 22 years old, coming out as a senior. That does fit in with the Suns' core right now, technically. So it's not like taking a senior would be out of mind for the Suns to do, since he would fit in there. So, and he's another guy that would give some nice size to the backcourt, something we've been lacking a little bit with 6'3" Knight, 6'3" Barbosa, 5'6" on his tiptoes Tyler Ulis. So, yeah, just a little size there. I like Dunn, the 4-year senior playing at Villanova. He's coming from a good system. I think he's a guy that could definitely pitch it in a little bit in his rookie year.
Yeah, and, I want to talk about a power forward, unlike a guard. I have a guard as another guy that I'm looking at, but I want to talk about a power forward, a big, as one might say, that worked out with us, and that's Kyle Kuzma, the junior out of Utah. He is just about 22 years old. He's 21 and some change. He's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan. He is not, like, height or wingspan wise gonna make you, like, have your eyes pop out of your head or anything. He's a pretty average size for a big man, a little small at some points, but I really enjoy his hands. He's got a really soft touch around the rim. He is able to kind of just drive. He has some decent passing vision at times, and that's kind of some stuff I really enjoy. He averaged 16 and 9 with 2.4 assists from Utah, and right now he's slotted right around getting picked at 43. I think he's the 46th prospect on the 100 for Draft Express, or 42. Sorry about that. So, I really see him as this kind of energy big. The possibility is there because of just how not broken his shooting stroke looks. His shooting stroke looks good and looks very sound fundamentally. So the possibility is there for him to be a stretch big. One of his main problems really is that he just seems like a very low basketball IQ kind of guy. I'm not going to say very low, but, he can pass, but he kind of just makes up his mind and does that. So he's going to just run into the paint or, just decide to take the jump shot and not look while he's moving. He can slightly handle the ball, but he can't really be a point forward or anything like that. And, it's just an issue with some of his decision making, and he's never going to be a guy that just wows on defense either. But I really like him, the idea of Kuzma as an energy big off the bench. He can work in transition. He can be a pick and roll big, and if you're on the bench, you can kind of hide some of those defensive deficiencies. And I think Kyle Kuzma is just a really interesting player and could be a pretty solid fit on our bench.
Yeah, and when it comes to guys that are playing at I'm not talking smack about Utah here, but when you're the main guy at a school, sometimes you are going to force some shots, and that's something that's, when he does get to the NBA, that's not going to be his role, obviously. So that's something I can kind of give a pass to some guys, but definitely want to see a guy with some high IQ no matter what. And another guy that I liked that came in on that first day was Jonathan Motley. Right now, he is, in the mock draft, he's projected at 36, rated at 39 in the top 100 over at Draft Express. He's 6'9", 230 pounds, plays power forward or center, a bit of a tweener in those two positions. And, 6'9", might be a little on the short side, but this guy would work out great as a small ball center. He's got a 7'4" wingspan and a 9-foot standing reach. So those are what you need if you want to be a small ball center. I really like that. And great offensive rebounder. I think that is something the Suns are missing still. Chris has been pretty impressive as we see all those putback dunks. He's got a nose for the ball, but Motley, great offensive rebounder, has some nice game in the paint under the rim. He's got a nice little jump hook. One thing I did notice watching some tape, it doesn't seem like he has much of a left hand. That's just something that will obviously need to be added as a pro. He's got a little face-up game, can put the ball on the ground. The clips I saw of him catching the ball out on the wing inside the three-point line kind of reminded me of watching what Marquise Chris did at Washington. Catching the ball at the high post and being able to put a dribble or two down and get to the rim. I saw a lot of that out of Motley, so that's interesting. And pretty decent shot form. He shot 70% from the line in college, so I'd say that's a pretty good sign for a big man heading into the NBA.
Yeah, I watched Motley when Baylor played USC in the tournament because of who I am and where I'm from and stuff. I follow Southern California stuff, shocker. But was watching USC in the tournament and watched them when they went up against Baylor. Motley was just a beast. And, there's something about these guys that they're maybe on the shorter side, but they've got that wingspan and who have some athleticism, have a solid shooting stroke that I think there's a possibility that Motley could be reached on a little bit because of those things.
Yeah.
But, I think that he will be able to be a solid NBA player for sure.
Maybe a reach means us with our early second rounder. It's not much of a reach, but I'd take him there.
Yeah, no, that's not much of a reach at all, but I mean, I'd be really happy with drafting him because I think he's one of those guys that will put in energy and stuff, especially off the bench. I just realized I was holding my mic that entire time. Sorry, people, because I'm not editing that out. That's a pain. I mean, I guess I can, but I just realized I was like totally just holding my mic while I was saying that. That's not good. Speaking of just one last person that I would like to look at and is definitely a lower round guy, possibly, or I mean, not possibly, but he's pegged right at the end. Pick 58 specifically is Kobi Simmons, point guard from Arizona. He's a freshman. He is 19 years old, almost 20. He's 6'4" with a 6'6" wingspan. A couple of things have marked him as being 6'6" as a point guard. He is a very fresh freshman, is what I'll say. A lot of people thought that he needed to stay at Arizona, but he decided to declare. He averaged 8.7 points, 1.6 rebounds, 2 assists, and it's a big risk for him to go and declare because he needs work. He needs work, but that's not saying that he can't get there. Just a lot of people think that he needs to get just use college to continue to polish his game. He has some, if you looked at like highlights or anything, you can tell that he does have the ability to see the floor pretty decently and has some pretty good passes that he has shown. Has shown some decent isolation scoring here and there with a kind of dribble pull-up game. His shot looks a little funky. He's got like a hitch in it or something, but it's not like broken or anything. And I like him. Of course, he has a very interesting name in Kobi Jordan Simmons. So there's that. But yeah, exactly.
That Ben Simmons.
But I like him. I watch a lot of Arizona basketball, and I liked watching him play. I definitely don't think he's ready, but I think taking a flyer on him is definitely worth it, and I think he can, especially for the Suns, if they kind of reach for him with their second round pick. While it would be a reach, I think that he can and has the potential to be kind of a combo guard, being able to play either point or shooting guard, and be able to progress to a serviceable guard off the bench at worst.
Cool. I think that'd be a good way to use that a potentially good way to use that Raptors pick we got, and I'd like to see us keep an Arizona guy in Arizona. Nothing wrong with that. Oh yeah, I think he's back to
just
playing
like
pro
Chase Budinger,
volleyball right
that
now.
went really
I don't.
well.
I just made that up. Okay, so let's get into day 2 so Mitch can do a little talking about some guys that he likes. So we brought in the best guy so far, Jared Allen. He's a center ranked at number 17 overall at Draft Express. Then we got Zach Irvin and Wesley Iwundu, going with that. Then we got Luke Cornett, Kennedy Meeks, the guy who beat Gonzaga in the national championship. Sorry,
Rip.
Mitch. Then we got Semi Ojeleye. That sounds about right. And then Devin Robinson. A nice, easy one to finish it up. So, yeah, Mitch,
Nice.
you like a couple of these guys. Who are you starting with?
Yeah, so obviously we have to talk about Jarrett Allen, the best player that we've worked out so far. He is a freshman, went to Texas, 6'11", with a 7'6" wingspan, which I really like. 235 pounds. He averaged 13.4 points per game, 8.4 rebounds, and 0.8 assists. When I watched tape on him, the first thing I thought was Tyson Chandler light. He's got the thin legs, pretty thin frame right now, but he'll put some weight on probably. Very physical, still mobile, great defensive center for the modern NBA. He guarded a lot of power forwards last year, so he's good at defending the perimeter, which is nice, but his interior D is still there. He's a good rebounder, very long, athletic. He could definitely learn a lot from Tyson while we still have him on the team, so that would be really cool. His shot is okay. He didn't shoot a whole lot. At Texas, most of his points came off of like putback dunks and offensive rebounds and that kind of thing, but he can shoot from mid-range a little bit. That's a big difference from Tyson, just from what I saw, is that he shoots quite a bit more from mid-range, which isn't really hard to do because Tyson hardly ever does that.
Nice.
Great hair also. He's got a huge fro. It looks really good. The problem is right now he's mocked going 17 to Milwaukee, and in order to get him, I think we would have to trade up. So the next guy that I want to talk about, unfortunately for me, is Kennedy Meeks, but the only reason I'm going to talk about him is to show my lack of bias, even though it's obviously there. But I do think Kennedy Meeks is worth talking about. University of North Carolina senior, 22 years old, 6'10", 260 pounds. He's a big boy. Very, very physical, especially on defense. He's a really good passer, especially when it comes to outlet passing, and he pulls down a lot of rebounds. He reminds me a little bit of a guy who went to Gonzaga named Elias Harris. Elias had a really great freshman year, and everyone thought that like he might declare for the draft, be a one and done kind of guy. And then he decided to stay. He stayed for 4 years and he put a bunch of weight on, and it was his ultimate demise. And he played a couple summer league seasons and is now playing in Europe. So I kind of see that a little bit with Kennedy Meeks. If you watch his older tape, he's a lot thinner, a little bit faster. He put on weight, and it helped a lot with his physicality on defense, but slowed him down quite a bit. I think he could be a very good backup and like role player enforcer type guy, like an Allen Williams kind of mold a little bit. Not like exactly the same because he's more polished on offense. But I mean, any guy like this who's a proven winner and knows this big stage so well has the chance to succeed in the NBA. Right now he's mocked going undrafted, so I think we worked out a couple guys that were mocked to go undrafted, so maybe that'll be a signing after the draft. seeing all these guys we worked out though playing center, Alex Len just better watch out. It's kind of looking like he might not be on the team.
You know what, Mitch? I think your bias did shine through a little bit right here, because I think you made Kennedy Meeks out to be better than he actually was, because you realized that he was in fact on the team that beat Gonzaga, so you probably just think a little higher of them because they beat Gonzaga. You see where I'm going here?
The reverse.
That's how I'm feeling it.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Okay, real quick here. Last week we heard the news that after this season here, Andre Iguodala could possibly garner some interest from the Phoenix Suns. So I think we're all on the same page thinking the Suns wouldn't sign a veteran free agent of that caliber unless he was really going to turn the tides of this franchise and turn us into a playoff team. That's how I feel, at least. And I don't know if Iggy is the guy that could do that. I mean, we have Dudley sitting there at playing a little bit of small forward. I don't know if we plan on getting rid of some of our veterans, maybe Iggy would be a good guy to bring in, but that'd be the only reason I see. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that, Iggy is a very unselfish player, and from a locker room standpoint, is one of those guys, even though on the court he can be kind of questionable, and some of his antics, in the past have been can be questioned just in general. But I just don't know if there's really interest here or not. I do know that Iggy did go to Arizona, but I don't think a lot of college guys really are really linked to a pro team that is in the state that they went to college in. So I don't really see it that much. And even though Iggy is an unselfish player, he was seen as a budding superstar at one point in Philadelphia and helped the Nuggets team go to the playoffs. I don't know. I think he's in a point in his career where he's transitioning to being more of a role player than that kind of guy, and I just don't see him as a guy that really moves the needle for us.
Right. I don't think it makes much sense for us to sign him. And as far as the locker room goes, Chandler, Dudley, and Barbosa, I think they do a pretty darn good job of keeping that locker room under control. I don't think we need to add another guy just for the locker room. I mean, Iguodala is still a good player, but I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for us.
Right, unless there's some wild and crazy trade that's about to go down that makes us a playoff contender, I don't see why we'd add Iggy. I love Iggy. Would love to have him on my team, but not this team right now.
Yeah, I have an Iggy jersey for a Sixers jersey in my closet. Cool. It's one of those things of those guys that are on that from that 2012 Olympic team. There, I've just got something for. Same with Tyson and a couple of those other guys. And maybe if there is some truth to either Drummond rumors or something like that, and it's enough to where we feel like we kind of just need a kind of point forwardy, unselfish guy, and we feel like we could get Iggy in that point, then maybe. But right now, with just the draft pick and no other moves, then I don't think that there's anything there.
Right on. Good stuff. And now, I think it's time to end the show the way we always do. Time for some non-sports plugs. We've got David's Comic Book Quarter, Mitch's Face Melting Minute, and then I'll come up with something. So, David, let's start it off.
All right. So, I actually want to talk about not a comic book and go into something that I really never thought I would plug on this show, and that is an anime. So, I am...
I'm sorry. I just wish we had video for that because my eyes got
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so...
It was funny.
I'm trying not to become, as some people say on the internet, a weeb, is what it's called. But There's this great anime that I watched this week. I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and it's called My Hero Academia. And
Sounds
so,
like a nut.
okay, here's how I'm gonna sell you this. Do you remember that movie that was in like 2004 or 2005? It was a Disney movie. It was called Sky High.
Yes, I recall.
And like Kurt Russell's in it as the dad of this kid, and this kid has like no superpowers, but he goes to the superhero high school, and like he's basically got to like cope with that, and like you're like split up into heroes and sidekicks, blah 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 blah. Anyways, it's a great movie, and it's not great movie, but it's a good fun movie. Basically, My Hero Academia is the anime version of this, of Sky High, and it's actually a lot of fun and really good in general. And it's got like some tropes in there, but it's not like super like, oh, this is an anime that I'm watching. It's like, oh, I'm just watching a really solid TV show. And not a whole lot of like those kind of things speak to me like that. So it's really good. I would really recommend it. And I marathoned it through in one night, and it was totally worth it. So check it out, My Hero Academia.
You know, I don't want to offend you, David, but I'm just going to take your word for it on this one.
You know, you take my word for it on all of it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so I've been enjoying watching Silicon Valley on HBO. We're getting midway through the season now, and it's just a wonderful show. Anything Mike Judge makes is gold, if you ask me. So this last episode, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but there was a celebrity cameo from a random actor, and that random actor happened to be Haley Joel Osment from the Sixth Sense. And this guy's like 5'4", and he got real fat. And the character he plays on the show is just fantastic. It's great. The back and forth between him and Ehrlich on the show is it's money in the bank. Really good stuff. So if you haven't started watching that show, definitely start checking it out. Mitch, you're up, man.
All right, so for my non-sports related plug, I'm going to plug something sports related. I have been watching the college softball World Series like non-stop lately. And it is good stuff, let me tell you. It's like 2 weeks out of the year, all you watch on ESPN is college softball. I've been rooting for the West Coast teams, University of Washington, University of Oregon. They're playing great softball. It's just a joy to watch, truly. Just turn it on, spend some time watching the premier female athletes of softball in college just do their thing. A lot of emotion. They play really hard. I watched a coach get ejected today. I had never seen that in softball before, so check that out. It was pretty awesome. I think there's a week left still, but go root for those West Coast teams and watch some college softball World Series.
And ladies, just in case you're wondering, Mitch is definitely into pitchers, if you know what I mean.
This is a family show. Okay, so edit that one out. But.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, good stuff all around. I think this is time to call it quits. Be sure to tune in next week, and go Suns.